Hi guys, welcome to the Mountain of God. My name is Camille. Today is 5th of May 2021. Welcome to video number 15. Today I want to talk about the story of humanity in general and why it would be good to understand it from a different perspective, which might be wider perspective than we always talk about, which might explain a lot of things that we might have issues with, one of them being hell. I spent a lot of time trying to figure it out and understand what the hell is all about. I tried to understand why it seems so much, I don't know, it's completely incomprehensible for me. I just cannot understand why would God, who is love and who everything that he does towards human beings is pure love, why would he create such a place like hell? In general terms, because, being theologically correct, what we call hell in general, it's called the lake of fire. But I was always thinking, what would be the reason that God would create something like this? And to explain it, we would have to take a look at in general, the story. I kind of mentioned and started it a little bit at the last video to understand where are we going with this. So let's start from where we begin as human beings. Because if you look at the Bible, it says that God created Adam, then he created Eve, put them in a Garden of Eden. And in general, what you see is this perfect place. Ideal place to live, ideal place to enjoy everything. They don't have to work. All they got is a beautiful garden full of plants, full of animals that they've been given authority over. They even get the possibility to name everything. And then, as a cherry on top, or the whole cake as well, is that they received a God who created them, walking with them in this garden, spending time with them, talking with them, and basically enjoying each other's company. And because whatever God does, he does perfectly, so he didn't have to have an alpha plan or then do some beta testing. No, he created something which was perfect. It's said in Bible that he looked at it and it was good. Meaning that was exactly the place that he wanted to create. Which just gave me this idea that the whole plan, the whole idea for creation of human beings was to put this little creatures on whatever place that he created in a perfect environment and just enjoy time with them. And that's why he says that he loved us so much, and it shows when he walks with Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. But because Adam and Eve decided to basically go against him, breaking one and only one rule that they had, not to touch the tree of knowledge of good and evil, which didn't really have to be a magical tree. It's just, if you will know the consequence of evil if you go against God. So act of eating fruit from that tree basically was betrayal itself, or kind of choice that humans did, and the rest is history. But at the beginning, as we said 2 videos ago, that this whole promise that the seed of woman will crush the head of the serpent was basically a promise from God himself, interestingly enough, given to Satan. That the whole story at the end will put us back in the Garden of Eden. It'll be probably Garden of Eden 2.0, because it's not going to be garden. It's going to be some kind of garden, because if you read how the new Jerusalem will look like, the new earth and new heavens and so on, it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be exactly the same from this peace and enjoyment part. But there will be much more, because you can see the cities, you can see the golden stones and all of this. That's going to be amazing. But it just shows you that the whole story of human beings was to enjoy their relationship with God. We messed up in between, but then the end part of the story, which is basically Jesus taking over the earth and then destroying Satan and his army, and then taking those faithful with him to the place which will play the same role as the Garden of Eden played. So that's the point number one: story and why God really created human beings. But second thing that I want to look at is this contrast of some stories in Old Testament that so many people that I heard so many people are having issues with. Why in that whole story of God taking care of human beings, out of nowhere he tells Israelites to murder some nations, everything, every man, woman, and child, and even animal. And then at the end of this he said that if you're not going to do what I say, in general, you're going to end up in the lake of fire when you'll be burned forever. And then you see this dissonance, this it's something that doesn't match. And you see, I was struggling with this for a long time, and I tried to understand what does it really mean. How are we supposed to understand it? Why it feels alien to the whole story? And you see, this is exactly what I kind of started talking about yesterday. Because when you see that, when you take the human story and put it in context of the spiritual realm and this whole situation with God and Satan and Lucifer, because that was his name, you start to see that the story of humanity is a part of a much larger story. And as I said yesterday, Lucifer has nothing against God, meaning that he cannot do anything against him. That's why from God's perspective there's no war. There's just one guy who was already judged, now is awaiting his sentencing. Now he's trying to berserk, to hurt as much people and as much entities as he can. And he plays, he's in this Samson mode, because he knows that his time is basically up. So that's why when he sees these lower tier creatures bound by the time and space, he lashes out on it, because if God called those creatures, this creation, his own, he's gonna try to destroy destroy it as much as he can, to take as much of those with him to his own sentencing. And you see, that's why, at least from my perspective, the lake of fire was never created for human beings. This is exactly why it feels alien concept. Not only that we cannot understand, why and how this whole concept is completely strange, to say the least. But you see, one of the things that pushed me towards this thinking as well was John Ramirez. This one of the pastors that you're supposed to know if you don't know him. He is ex-Satanist, and he did many bad things. And he had vision of being in I guess second heaven is where the devil is right now with his angels. And he said that the moment he entered this place, the first feeling that he had is, I shouldn't be here. Meaning, I don't belong here. And this kind of pushed me towards thinking that maybe this whole idea, this whole hell, was never created for human beings, because the judgment was put on Lucifer and his angels. And the only reason some people are gonna get there, and unfortunately most of them, looking at the Bible says, Most of the people end up in a place that they don't belong. There was never created for them. But because they decided that they want to follow the one who is not the father of fathers but fathers of lies, God will say, sure, I never intended it for you. It wasn't created for you, but that's your choice. Well, I give you a free will. You can choose whatever you want. Adam and Eve chosen to know good and evil. Now if you want, you will see and feel on your own skin what doesn't really mean that you're going to join and how evil will end. You will join the story which was not your story. And that's why you've got to understand, at least this is how I try to explain it, that's why we don't get it. Let me just turn off the volume because I can hear myself. That's why we don't get it. That's why it's hard to comprehend what does really hell means, because hell was never created for us. This punishment seems overwhelmingly unfair, but because it was created to entities that we cannot even understand, the entities that are so much bigger in every sense that we are, that's why the sentence will be on their level, not ours. That's why God says, I don't want any human to end up there, because it was never created for you. That's why it's going to be scary to, I don't know which degree. It's going to be over our heads. So that's why I hope you'll never end up there, because I won't. So, you see, this is what I really want you to take from this video. I don't want to prolong it, but in simple terms, if you've been called and you will be chosen to play any role in this upcoming conflict, or whatever God is doing right now, you've got to understand you will have to change the way you think. You will have to change completely your perspective of what is going on. Because at least from this perspective and understanding our story, understanding that our story is just part of a much bigger story, it seems that the main plane of existence that this story is playing out is not ours. We are just part of the story. We've been caught up in between God and Lucifer and their disagreement, I would say that way. That's why if you're going to be playing any role, you're going to play a role in the war, which is spiritual war, not earthly war. You're going to take part in something that is happening for much longer than we exist, with the entities that are smarter, live longer, experience so much more than we ever did. Maybe that's why Paul says that everything that you see here, it's like you see it like through the fog. And maybe that's why so many people who had visions, dreams, who were taken out of their body to meet God in his realm, or Jesus, or angels, or whoever, they say that everything that you taste, everything that you feel, everything that you hear, everything that you see feels more real than what you experience on earth. Why? Because the main plane of this whole story that we've been caught up into is not happening here. It's happening in the spirit. So that's why you've got to understand it to be able to play any role in that conflict, which is not really ours. So think about it and do something about it. Because if you want to be a soldier, you will have to understand what kind of conflict you're taking part in. But at the end of the day, we as human, we started here, but as Jesus' body was not bound by time, but by matter, we're not gonna end up here. We're gonna end up in a spirit. So start thinking this way. If you like this video, like, share, comment. If you didn't, comment as well. Tell me what you think, what was your experience. If there's anything you want me to talk about, just give me a shout. I'll be glad to do it for you. And that being said, see you tomorrow.